Savanah Hernandez. She's an investigative reporter with Frontlines and Turning Point USA. She's easily one of the best, and we love having her on. What's up, Sav?
Hey, Chris, thank you so much for having me. I just got back from California, so excited to give you guys my latest story.
Yeah, so I saw the report. So you launched the report on the 14th. You're sitting down with an LA whistleblower, and they're just talking about the ridiculous amount of money that the state of California is giving to illegal aliens, correct?
Yes, so I have been focusing in on blue states primarily because a lot of people are very excited about the fact that we have deportations that are going on, that we are starting to clean things up, that the border is shut down. However, the next natural progression and, of course, the next fight is blue states harboring illegal aliens. And I wanted to go to California specifically because they are a sanctuary state. And I actually had a whistleblower who reached out and showed me all of the documents highlighting the thousands upon thousands of dollars that illegal immigrants have been given by the state of California under programs such as CalFresh, CalWorks, and Medi-Cal, which is basically free cash assistance, free food, and free medical care.
That's insane. How do they get away with this still? And are they doing this to keep the heads there in the state for when that census rolls around?
You know, that is a great question, Chris. I don't know what the long game is here, but it does look like the total destruction of California. Now, a lot of these documents that I was looking at, for example, you had one family that was living in an apartment building in California. They were put in this building. It was listed on Zillow for almost $1 million. So again, for the average Californian, your rent is about like $3,000-$4,000 a month. Their rent was paid for the entirety of 2024. And then I also saw the receipts for their CalWorks, which is cash assistance, to the tune of over $1,000 every single month. And then also, again, CalFresh, which was like $600 to $800 in food stamps every month. Now, let's not forget that California has the highest population of homeless people in the entire nation. So it's just absolutely insane to see homeless Americans overlooked for these programs, and they're given to illegal immigrants. I mean, the homeless issue in California in itself is a huge problem, but it's like they just have so many compounding issues, and they're so in debt in that country. I mean, you just had Gavin Newsom last week. His Department of Finance requested a $3.4 billion loan to continue supplementing Medi-Cal because they started extending that free health care to illegal immigrants. So they have a huge deficit over there. So, you know, you ask the question, why do you think this is happening? I don't know. Complete and total destruction of California, which is why Gavin Newsom started his podcast, so that way everyone can kind of overlook that and forget that he destroyed an entire state.
Honestly, he's just gearing up for a run in 2028. Now, I noticed, all right, so over the weekend, or I think it was Friday, the J.D. Vance, Laura Ingraham interview, and he was talking about immigration into Germany. He's like, Germany's going to kill itself because it's going to be unrecognizable. And then I see your report and these impromptu little migrant cities, if you will, with like mini sheds that look like, you know, tiny homes. And my first thought was, this looks like the favelas in Brazil. Is California becoming unrecognizable?
Oh, absolutely, and it's been unrecognizable for a long time. Now, California first popped on my radar because I was covering the fentanyl crisis in San Francisco, in which you oftentimes have Americans that are completely leaned over, their bodies are contorted, they're shooting up fentanyl on the streets of San Francisco. I mean, I did a report up there in I think it was like $3 million per house in that neighborhood, and a child had overdosed from fentanyl after crawling in the park in that neighborhood. So California was already on the radar for looking unrecognizable, looking like a third world country, just being in an absolute state of decay, and then adding in this extra angle of these migrants who are waving Mexican flags, saying that they deserve to be here, being able to work in California. And this is something else, Chris. My piece is kind of long, but toward the end, my whistleblower said something very telling. She said that a lot of the migrants don't even want to be here in the United States of America. They feel like it's extremely expensive to live here. They don't like the culture. They don't like the food. They think that their culture is better, which is why you oftentimes see these migrants on our streets protesting on how, their country is better and they deserve to be here. My whistleblower And this is something I've heard time and time again over my last 4 years of talking to volunteers and whistleblowers who have worked directly with illegal immigrants. They say they're entitled. They say they are expecting us to take care of them, give them free medical care, give them free housing, basically cater to them in every way, shape, or form. They don't even want to stay in this country. A lot of them want to leave the country, but they don't want to leave empty-handed. That's an exact quote from my whistleblower.
That's insane. It's insane. And one of the points you made was the baby. You know, a lot of times with the fentanyl stuff, people will say, "Oh, let the junkies die. Like, who cares? Like, they made their choice." But I always make the argument, you know, the baby in the apartment in Florida, the Airbnb that passed away because they crawled over some fentanyl. You brought up the baby in the park in California. Like, this stuff is affecting people that aren't just drug users.
Oh, absolutely. And the worst part of it as well is because California is a sanctuary state, oftentimes, I think it's Hondurans that are usually in San Francisco, they will utilize the sanctuary city status of these cities to distribute drugs because they know they can't be deported and they basically won't face any, federal prosecution or even state prosecution for that matter. So they're going to places like California or maybe, like a Denver or a Chicago or a New York because of the sanctuary status that will keep them from not only being deported, but also out of jail. Because let's not forget, Chris, that you can go stab somebody in New York and then basically be let out, with no bail at all and needed within a couple hours.
It's insane. Now, part of the story that was shocking to me was just how documented California is keeping this stuff. Like, they have all the records. They have all the files. They know where the illegal aliens are. What's stopping somebody from ICE to creating a hacking team to find out this info?
Again, the state policy in California that would fight tooth and nail to keep the illegal immigrants in our country. I mean, for example, you had the mayor of Denver, and the reason I'm bringing him up is because this is the mentality of all of these Democratic mayors. He stated, if ICE comes into Denver and tries to deport people, I will stand in front of their trucks and it will be like Tiananmen Square all over again. I mean, that is the mindset of these Democratic mayors. They do not care about their constituents. They don't care about American citizens. They care about, for some reason, circumventing federal law and trying to make things as chaotic as possible. I mean, and again, too, this can kind of stretch into the overarching theme of globalism and how this mass migration has further corroded, destroyed, the United States of America. I mean, that's ultimately what this seems to be. And they try to portray it under the guise of, oh, well, we just want to be loving and welcoming. And it's like, no, you're destroying our country and you're forcing us to pay for it. And then now when we're trying to clean it up, you're trying to circumvent federal law. I mean, we're seeing this with federal judges now, too, trying to push back against these deportation flights of criminal Tren de Aragua members.
Yes, but I love the optics of it because it is going to put the Democrats in a position where they're going to have to defend Tren de Aragua members. Like, you're going to have Democrats, and I didn't see a lot of them on the weekend shows. Maybe the mainstream media avoided the question, but Jasmine Crockett was out there trying to defend these flights, saying that they should have been brought home. And it's like, are we really defending gang members, rapists, child rapists, and murderers right now?
Oh, that's exactly what they're doing, Chris, but this isn't surprising because they've already been doing that for decades. I mean, they've been, for bail reform. They have been for depopulating the prisons, if you will. They've always been on the side of the criminal for some reason. I mean, that's just how the party is. It's crazy, and I think that's why we saw such a big move toward the right, a big move toward common sense, quite frankly, because the Democrats just got so out of hand with their politics, with siding with criminals constantly. I mean, at the end of the day, the fact that we can't rally around having clean and safe streets for our children across the United States of America is crazy to me. But the average Democrat does not think that our children deserve that, and they're actively fighting against that every single day.
Do you think that more Democrats are waking up in California? I mean, for instance, you having a whistleblower exposing this CalWorks program was a little bit surprising to me. Are there more people waking up to the lies of the left when it comes to this mass immigration?
Oh, absolutely. And I know that California as well has quite a large Republican population. It's just, I mean, going back to the question that you asked at the beginning of our interview, like, do we think that these illegal immigrants are being kept in California so that way, a certain party can continue getting into power and perhaps That is why it is, because there are a lot of American citizens in California that are waking up. As I was outside of this apartment complex, filming my stand-up, like, hey, there's illegal immigrants living in here. I actually had one of the residents of that apartment complex, who was a homeless American, that was like, yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. Thank you for doing what you're doing. I always get kind of nervous in those situations, Chris, because, I'm standing there on a street in not the best neighborhood by myself. And so I never know what people are going to say, but they gave me a thumbs up and they were like, hey, thank you. These illegal immigrants have been getting much more than we have.
I always say this about you. You're fearless. All 5'7" of you out there, basically solo in enemy territory. Is there a chance that California ever votes red? I've heard rumblings about this on the internet that you're going to see a move towards the right in the upcoming election, that if Kamala Harris runs for governor, there's no way she can win. Are you getting that vibe from the people on the ground, or is it just deranged leftists?
I don't know, Chris. I think that if we had free and fair elections, we potentially could see a red California, but I don't know if we have that yet. So, maybe we continue to try to clean up the background of, our election system. We try to clean up the judicial system. That's something that really needs to happen, and that's a big problem in California as well. It's like their AGs, their DAs, they don't work on behalf of the law. Like, again, this is just going back to common sense practice and law and order. They are all activist judges, and, we're seeing that across the entire nation. But if we can clean that up, then I think we could see that. But as of now, we have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, amen. Savanah Hernandez is an investigative reporter for Frontlines with Turning Point USA. What are you working on next? Where does Savanah, where are you taking the news next? What's the next big story?
Chris, you mentioned Jasmine Crockett, and I might be taking a peek at an event or two that she's going to be at. I was like, I'm not sure what I'm going to ask Jasmine, but since she has started to talk about the illegal immigration subject, I think that would be something interesting to ask her about in person. So we might be doing that. And
doesn't she have a bit of an issue with Act Blue donations? And I remember the guy running against her, the Republican, was knocking on doors about donations that she may or may not have received from Democrats, kind of in the same vein of the random Act Blue donations that James O'Keefe was exposing.
Oh, interesting. I did not hear about this, Chris. But that's the thing. It's like every single one of these politicians, they have a long list that I could ask them questions about. That might be one of them.
I'll send you the link. It's wild. He went and knocked on the door of this elderly couple, and they're like, "Did you donate $16,000 to Jasmine Crockett?" And they're like, "Who's Jasmine Crockett?"
Many such cases.
I know it. Savanah Hernandez, awesome journalist. Where can we keep up with you?
Go follow me on X at Sav Says, and go follow Frontline TPUSA.
Okay, I'm going to find that link about that Act Blue stuff. I'm going to send it to you, okay?
Please do. Thanks, Chris.
All right, Savanah Hernandez, she's amazing. Go find her on X.